Hey, this is Glendon with day 2 of Hustler University, the path to a six-figure business. This is going to seem a little extreme because I'm really going to push you in bite-sized chunks. I should say I'm going to try to keep it. That is the goal, to keep this information between 15 and 20 minutes so you can have some actual advice and some things that you can absorb and put into play. Like I said, each day there's a task. Yesterday, what kind of business are you going to have? I mean, what are you going to do? Because the thing is, many people go out to earn money by just doing whatever. Because that whole, if it's making money, I'm going to do it. That's right. That's good, right? No, it's not good, because you create a lot of short-term situations that you cannot build upon. Give you an example. Storage, the upscale garage sale. I was selling junk. So many months that dollar section paid the rent. But we created a business structure. We created an email blast list. We had coupons. We did all kinds of things to retain and gain reoccurring customers. This one-off stuff is dangerous, because the thing is, with eBay, and this is one of the reasons we split it off in categories, because we were doing everything off one ID. That got us in trouble. Then we split it off into a clothing ID, a furniture ID, a knick-knack ID, a collectibles ID. And when we did that, we started to get reoccurring customers on eBay because the category was the same. And that's how eBay is working. Now, there's a few companies, like say, there was this one company I used to watch, Monster Pawn. They had so many things going on. It was ridiculous, but it was a pawn shop and they only took a certain type of stuff, so to speak. So essentially, they were in a pretty good position to sell any and everything, but it was always something of value, because you can't pawn anything unless it's something of value. So that helped them out tremendously. Now I want you to think in terms of scope and growth. Now, let's address the resale industry. Because once resale, hustling, picking, storage auctions gets in your blood, it's hard to get out. Because you want to be there for the nitty-gritty stuff. You want to be there for it's hard to have a business when you are the business. Your income would be limited by the number of hours that you are awake. So you have to start thinking in terms of duplication. When we reached our eBay threshold, which was close to $80,000 a month, we ran into a lot of problems. A lot of freaking problems. A ton of problems. And it was just like, this can't go on, because the money was coming in, but money was going out. When your sales rate goes up, your return rate goes up. When your sales rate goes up, your chargeback rate goes up. All kinds of stuff. And you're dealing with certain issues on a large scale, and it's very, very frustrating because of the way that eBay makes it. And that's what led me to splinter out and find partners who had their own eBay IDs to sell stuff. And it wasn't easy. It was trial and error. There was a few yardbirds in the mix. But eventually I got the number of people I wanted, and things worked out well until we shut down. But in terms of being an advanced hustler, I don't want you to be, I'm Lenny and I got plenty. The guy from Good Times with the coat, and he opens it up and there's watches and chain. No. I want you to be the hustler that you're in your town and you're having dinner with the wife, and you hear this guy talking about, I got a building of inventory and I don't know what to do. I want you to be the hustler. It's like, excuse me, here's my card. We'll talk tomorrow. You don't even know what it is. You don't even know if you can sell it, but your mind is open to it, because when you become really good at having a sales organization, it's easier to sell a lot of different things. And when you become a sales organization, you have a customer base. And sometimes you can go out and get a large opportunity that will mirror with your customer base. And one of the things is, when you start talking to people about partnering and doing business, when you have your own corporation, people take notice. And you could just do this. Simple generic name. It does not have to be super fancy, because I know in the age of branding, your card has to the corporate colors. I'm telling you, when people feel that you can solve their problems, you don't need a business card. And also, it makes it easier when you say have to give out a distribution check, because there's this. It just looks more official, and it gives people a higher comfort level. So with that, we're going to jump off into which way you're going to go. And I'm going to give you just a brief overview of, corporations. And for most of you, a limited liability company, LLC, is going to work. For some of you, and this goes back to what you want to do in the future, this is where you have to have goals and sit down and really think, because once you set these bad boys up, they're up. Now you can dissolve them, then you can start something else, but there's some other things that we'll get into in a minute that it's just may blow your mind when I tell you. But the limited liability company is cool, but the thing is, you can't have a lot of owners. The S corporation has some of the. The S corporation was the limited liability company from probably like the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Then the LLC became the big kahuna in terms of incorporation, and it's not like a true incorporation. It's a legal entity. The only true corporation is a C corporation, and the C corporation is only for those of you who at some point plan to go public. Like, you have this idea, you have this product, you want to turn it into a multi-million. You may want to go ahead and, like I said, do an IPO or get on the. I mean, you're gonna have to do a C corporation. You're going to have to. And you can convert at some point, but it just makes sense that once you get your goals and stuff together, that you start off the right way. Because once you set up this, let's talk about the good stuff. Can't talk about this stuff on YouTube, but I can talk about it in the Hustler University webinar. Okay, business credit kind of disappeared, but I'm going to tell you some of the benefits that I gained from business credit that helped me in the storage auction business. It may be like that because the thing is, what I do now, I don't need to have the cash to buy stuff. But I went online, and it was actually, this was like 2002, I think, and it was credit boards, and they were talking about business credit. And I went in there and I just did the things, and you have to you could do it with an LLC. You can't do that. You could do it with a sole proprietorship, but everything's going to default back to your social security number. Well, I went in there, and this is when things were insane. Set up this corporation. 2 weeks later, had a Staples card with a $750 limit, which I used to buy a new laptop. High interest rate, but I didn't care. So I had the Staple card, Granger's. Within 6 months, I had $150,000 worth of business credit, and 80 G's were on a Home Depot MasterCard. And they never had my social security number, and there was no personal guarantees. $80,000. And that is another thing that allowed me, because we were doing storage auctions, but I also had a new furniture company online. And I used that card to float those loans and factors stuff. It was just got points out the yin yang. This stuff is coming back, but the business credit, you got to be really careful with that, because typically you do not have the same protections with business credit cards that you do with personal credit cards. So you may be better off jacking up your limit. And say, this is another thing with having this corporation. You got to talk to an accountant, okay? Talk to an accountant, talk to an attorney, do some research, but you can set yourself up as an employee of your own corporation and print up W-2s. And I mean, the thing is, if you're an employee, right? Yes, you own it, but you're an employee. As long as it's structured a certain way, you get a pay stub from a company that you own, which completely eliminates I'm going to buy a car, and it's like, oh, you own the business. We need to see it used to be 2 years of tax returns. Now it's like 3 or 4 that they're going to want to see. So that completely gets I used to get a paycheck from the company. ADP set it up. I got a paycheck every 2 weeks. And I just, I can always pull cash out the company and will, but just so I can do most things, $1,500 every 2 weeks. That's what I pulled out. That was my salary. Now with that, you do the regulations. You have to pull out a certain amount. So fortunately, we had a lot of cash, so I was able to work that out. But the thing is, it gives you an incredible amount of flexibility. And once again, everything I'm telling you, you have to double check and triple check and get paid legal advice on this. I went through a crazy divorce, had crazy child support. And then they were like, well, where do you work? And I was like, well, I work here. And it was like, when they take you to court for reconsideration and I was like, here are my pay stubs. My ex just like, you're making more money than that. I was like, well, you got the pay stubs. And, it's just, she could never raise my child support limit. Now, I understand I was buying clothes and doing stuff and paying child support, and they were with me. But it gave me more power and control over my life. That's another benefit that you don't hear about having a corporation. Is, you have to work and the business has to make money, but that's why I laugh when it's like, well, we need to tax the rich. The only rich people or well-off people who are getting taxed yin yang are idiots who refuse to get a guerrilla warfare accountant. I mean, I've had one audit and my accountant would just pass paper across the table and I never said a word and no changes were made. You pay for that advice. Pay for it. And the reason I say pay for it is it changes so much that it's a full-time job to keep up with all the rules, the regulations, and the changes. It's literally a full-time job, and all you have to do is mess up in one area, on one line, or one form, and your tender hind parts are in the fire. Whereas if you pay someone and they screw up and they have liability insurance, you could pay them and get remuneration. It's worth the money. Now let's talk about investment options. You set up your own corporation. You can set up your own pension plan. Self-employment pension, you can do it. There's so many things that you can do with that because you own the corporation. You can invest in whatever the heck you want to do. You could create your own investments like, okay, I'm going to take this money and I'm going to buy a house every year, put the house in its own structure. It has to be some legal structure, maybe create a corporation or whatever. And that's your pension plan. And that money's, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And the thing is, this stuff used to cost, it used to be for a company to set up an investment plan. It could be anywhere from 10 to 50 G's just to set it up. Now, you go to E-Trade, whatever, click a few buttons, and you got your stuff set up. But once again, get paid advice for your particular situation. But essentially, you can create a company. And I didn't say this to create a company and not make money, but you create a company and do some stuff and take the tax write-offs legally for a long period of time. People's like, well, you can only go 7 years without making a profit. No, you can. Amazon.com went 8 years without making a profit. And it's the structure. It's the structure. That's why I say read business books, magazines, and things like that. Now, going with another advantage. You can hide, or as the legal term is, you can shelter money. Give you an example. I had a little corporation because I did it when I was working for business environments because we were 1099 employees. So I was self-employed. So I did it under my corporation. Well, did a big job, and I was looking at a crazy tax bill, one of the biggest tax bills I've ever seen in my life. If I took my compensation, it was November. I went to the office and said, hey, Ken, I want the other 50 grand, but I don't want it until, next year. And he's like, okay. And he took the check and he put it in his drawer. And it's like, I'll just give it to you. I'll write you another one and I'll give it to you next year. And that's what he did. And it saved me a lot of money. As an employee, you can't do stuff like that. You can't say, hey, hold on to my, no, I'm talking about it. That one move saved me about 15 grand. That one move, $15,000 in taxes, because I was still new to the game and I made some mistakes, but now I know, and that's what I'm telling you. So even if your business isn't where you want it to be, by setting up the corporation and making some plans and some goals, now you can seriously impact your next decade. I mean, because the thing is, as a business owner, you can put away a lot more money for retirement than the average person. You really can. And I mean, that within itself is almost a reason to start a side business. And I use the word side business. Slap me if you want to. Okay. This is what I'm talking about. You got to really think about this, because once you start the company, and your products and services can change. So don't have to feel that you're wedded to it. But with that company, as that corporation ages, let's just give you an example. Say you don't want to do it anymore. You know, your corporation is 12 years old. You have a good DMB, and you could go out and sell that corporation. Seriously, just sell it. It's done all the time. It could just be a shell corporation. You could sell it because of the age. Because the older it is, the more things that come into play. Like it used to be, what I was telling you with business credit, it's 6 months you can build it. It takes 2 years now. But if you're in business and you're doing stuff, those 2 years are going to come and pass anyway. So the sooner you go ahead and incorporate or form your limited liability corporation, that 2-year clock starts ticking. And then, if your business is making money, you can get leases. People are like, well, you can't get oh, yes, you can. I did it. You can get a lease in your corporation name. You have to go to the dealership and talk to the right guy. If you go to the dealership and you talk to the first person that jumps on you, he more than likely won't know. It will be either the fleet manager or it's going to be one of the F&I guys. If they do it, and if they don't do it, there's someone in their organization that will know how to do it. Now, so let's talk about the future. Do you want your kids in the business? By setting up a corporation, making them shareholders now, and say this corporation, another company I work for, IMA, Bill's, no, it wasn't Bill's father. It was, I can't remember the guy's name. Scott's father set up a corporation, and Scott was put in the corporation. It was a C corporation, and Scott was in the corporation since he was like 16. He was already in there. So when his father retired, they just shifted the proportion of ownership from father to nothing to Scott to 55%, and Bill had 45%. No state tax. It's structure. It's knowing the law. There's so many things you can do just shuffling paper around. It will boggle your mind. Now, if you're going to sell shares or you want to grow, and it's going to be the C Corp. And it just really depends on your ambition and what you want to do. And understand, you do an LLC, and at some point you need to turn it into a C Corp or start one. You can always do a conversion or just start a new corporation and move the business there, but it's going to be expensive. It may not be as expensive as it used to be. Because understand, I have not done my corp thing on the level I used to do, because the thing is, I could tell you, if you start your corporation and you don't pay your state filing taxes, they're going to delete that bad boy. It's called dissolve. They will let it dissolve. That's happened to a few because I didn't care. Because when I started learning the power of this stuff, I was kind of like a crackhead. So don't be like me. Don't be a crackhead. Just really think about your business and think about what you could do to earn money, because by setting this stuff up, you protect yourself. Okay, now you're establishing the corporation. You've heard of the EIN, the employee identification number. Some of you may have that already. But when you establish your corporation, my thing is, if you have one, do not convert. Start with a new one. It's a new corporation. They're going to ask you on the form if you have one, but you're just like, hey, this. And once again, this stuff changes. That's why you have to be on it and have some help. Then get your business bank account, and then booyah. First thing you want to do after you get the business bank account is set up your Roth IRA and your SEP. I don't care if you can only put $50 a month into each one in the beginning. Do so. Do so. Because, give you an example. Say you set up your investment fund, right? And you're out there, and then you're about month 8 for your business, and something miraculous happens, and bam, you got $50,000. Because this stuff is set up, and you're mentally prepared for it. Instead of doing what the average person's like, I got $50,000, I'm going to do this. You're like, oh, I can max out my Roth. Bam, 5 G's. hey, I could put a little chunk load here in myself. So you're mentally conditioning yourself for long-term success because you're structuring for it versus just just doing whatever. Because I can tell you from experience, the first time you do a good deal and you make 20, 30, my first big deal, I got a check for $38,000. I was a freaking crackhead. No, I did not pay my taxes. I was out there balling, and I was just, I was stupid. I was really, really stupid. But fortunately for me, I never was a high consumption lifestyle person. I bought a few things. I did some stuff. I'm not going to lie. But I also had like 10 grand when it was over. And when I had to pay my taxes, that 10 grand plus another 2 was gone. And I was like, wow, lesson learned. And I didn't put any money away. I didn't, it was just like a good time. And the tax man was like, love me long time. I don't want that to happen to you, because there's a lot of people in Sparta. There's a lot of people that are taking this course. They are really smart. You're going to do some big stuff. And I want for you to have long-term success. I want, when you're my age, that you're like, you got 500,000 somewhere, or maybe $1 million or more somewhere. And you're not one of those people that's like in those commercials where it's like, it goes up, it goes down. What are we going? Because you're not worried. Because because just $1 million, 6%, okay, a 60 grand. I don't know what I forgot it. Investment taxes are. It'll come to me, but I think they're like 15%. Those additional taxes. So that's going to give you like $40-something thousand a year with your principal intact. You're not balling, but that's net income. That's straight up net income, and you can maintain. You can maintain, and also with the things that are going up and being a hustler, being productive. I see most of you doing what I've done. Not so much retiring, but creating a life of opportunity and choice. What I'm doing here today, I could be in France and do this. I could be, as long as I have an internet connection, I can do this. I can run my business. So I've kind of come from the resell, buy, sell to actually creating my own products, creating my own content. And that's an evolution process that I think some of you are going to do. So just go ahead, take all this in. And my promise to keep these short and easily to digest, because, I should put my timer up, but we should be close to that mark or over it. So this is day 2, Hustler University. It's a little different. Start learning the language. Some of it's going to be simple. Some of it's going to be crazy. Find out what the estimated fees for your corporation, LLC, was going to be for your state. And then, let's, on filing corporation papers, I'm going to say this week on foundation bill, just kind of wait. If you're ready to pull the trigger because you already done some of these things, or you may even have one, that's one thing. But just start getting that stuff together, because, day 1, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? Day 2, we're going to talk about the corporations and actually getting it done, because it's going to make you feel so much more like you're really doing it. It really is. I'm front loading things that I did not do early on, but I learned that I should do, and I want you to start off on the right foot. All right, this is Glendon, and I will see you on the good side.